What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, CamATL, and welcome back to another NFL video with your boy. We got a Thursday night showdown tonight. We got Washington at Chicago. Super exciting. Super excited about this one. Um, I'm not going to keep up too much of y'all's time. I'm going to get straight to the point. Make sure y'all drop a like down below, comment anything in the comment section, and enter your name into the giveaway I do every week on this channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's go ahead and get straight into it. Now, when I think game script of this game, I think of, not a ton of points put up, number one. Number two, just kind of slow and just eh. You know what I mean? Like, so really, you just want guys, you want to try to build this line, with the best you can, with the assumption that both teams are probably going to be lowest scoring, is what I'm expecting. And, it stays fairly competitive throughout. So, with that being said, let's start it off. So, my favorite captain is going to be Justin Fields. I have a little bit of a worry of Fields because I think he's going to be pressured a good bit here. Chicago's offensive line is not very good. Washington's defensive line has been okay. They're like ranked fourth in the league at sacks. So there is a situation here where Fields could struggle, but because of that, he's going to have to move around a lot, and I think he's going to get comfortable like running around. And Justin Fields, at home in Chicago, with his rushing potential, with that rushing floor that he possesses, I think Justin Fields is a very good captain choice today. I think he'd probably most likely on most, if you played this game 100 times, most of the time Fields is probably going to be the top scoring player on the field. So because of that, Justin Fields at home with his rushing potential here in this matchup. Like I said, Washington will probably create some pressure, which in turn is going to make Justin Fields probably run a little more, which raises his floor. I do like Justin Fields here as the captain. You can go him or Wentz, that's fine. But if I'm not going Justin Fields, who gives me that rushing potential, I'm probably saying, you know what? I'm going to go David Montgomery in what could be a grinded out game with David Montgomery, and then on the other side Brian Robinson, and it could just be one of those type of games, slow pace, just running a good bit. Both teams run a good bit, so I wouldn't be surprised to see both teams run a good amount as well. So with that being said, though, my next favorite play that I'm going to go with is going to be Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel's just a fantastic option here. He's used as like a Swiss knife. They use him back as a running back. He runs a good amount of routes. He ran 39 routes last week, so that's always a plus as well. And he's only 8'2". He's got probably the best individual matchup when it comes to wide receiver cornerback matchup. So I really like the spot here for Curtis Samuel. He's one of my favorite options today. Curtis is also the second in line behind. We've got Dotson out for Washington, and he's been a big red zone guy that they've gone to. He's got the most red zone touchdowns for Washington with the wide receiver group. So Curtis Samuel's right there behind him. So Curtis Samuel, I could see getting those red zone targets that Dotson leaves behind. Really love him here. Like I said, I think they're going to find ways to get him the ball. So Curtis Samuel, as that Swiss Army knife guy, I think he's a necessity at 8-2 in this game. Like I said before, both running backs can be played, David Montgomery, or you can obviously play Brian Robinson as well. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to side with David Montgomery here because he's just gonna do it all here for Chicago most likely, and if Fields in fact is getting pressured like I expect is a good chance to happen, I would expect some dump offs to David Montgomery as well, him get involved in the pass game a good bit. So I really like Montgomery here in this as well. He did run 18 passing routes last week, so that's a good look as well. So I think David Montgomery is a solid option. And when you look at Vegas, David Montgomery's got the highest touchdown probability out of anyone on the field as well. So just with this game most likely being a grinded out type of situation, like I said, you can even put Montgomery at captain. But I'm going to side with Fields just off, more opportunity for Fields to score more points. David Montgomery at the flex, though, I really like him. Like I said, little dump offs. They're going to utilize him heavily. Like both teams run a good bit, so expect David Montgomery to have a solid game as well. And that's going to be the core. Justin Fields at captain, Curtis Samuel on the Washington side, David Montgomery. I do love Carson Wentz as well playing on the other side. I talked about the defensive line for Washington probably having a good night here. But their offensive line also has a solid matchup. Chicago does not get many sacks. They're one of the bottom in the league when it comes to sacks. So they don't get a ton of sacks. Carson Wentz should have a little more time to throw, so he should be able to do some solid damage here against Chicago. Chicago's defense is getting healthier. They're getting someone back. I can't remember what his name is, but somebody will comment in the comment section. But Carson Wentz either way, solid option in this game. Like I said, you're just going to want the top scores in this game, plain and simple. Now let's talk value. When it comes to value, you can play either defense. I think you're fine with playing either defense. Sure. I hate playing defenses, but you can. When it comes to kickers, I always side with the home kicker. So Santos would be my main guy if I had to pick a kicker. Um, Brian Robinson is the running back for Washington that I would prioritize. Um, let's see. St. Brown is a solid option at 4.8. He's another guy that is got 19 targets last week for Chicago, so he's a solid spot. John Bates, Logan Thomas is out for Washington. Bates is a guy that's could has gotten some red zone targets, and he could end up having a solid game as well. Let's see. Cam Sims at 1,400 is probably the cheapest player that I'm willing to go with this in this game. Cam Sims is with Dotson out. Cam Sims should get an elevated snap count, elevated routes run. Sims ran 25 routes last week, so that's a plus as well. So it's a solid spot for him with Dotson out. With Dotson out last week, Sims was able to get that extra run, that 25 routes run. And at 1,400, running 25 routes, I'll take it. So he's my favorite value play of the slate. And outside of that, I'm pretty much going only that cheap. Okay, so like I said, running back wise, David Montgomery for Chicago. Um, Brian Robinson for the Washington side. I think he's still not going to get that full on run, but he's going to get more work as we go in. And when it comes to Washington's running backfield, Brian Robinson's the starter. That's the guy that they want to get the ball to. So Brian Robinson's the guy that I would choose on the Washington side, and that Washington offensive line should be able to create some holes here. Like I said, that defensive line for Chicago has been struggling a little bit. They don't generate a ton of pressure, so Carson Wentz should have plenty of time. He's not a very good quarterback, but he should have plenty of time back there. And on the other end, Justin Fields would just have more opportunity with what he can do with his feet as well to get that higher floor possibility in the top, score of the night. Because in the red zone, he's up there with like top four guys to get in the end zone himself. You know what I'm saying? So Carson Wentz most likely is not going to run one in. Justin Fields has high probability if they get down there in that red zone to tucking it and taking off. So I really love Justin Fields as my captain option. It just feels the safest bet on this game. And then Curtis Samuel on the Washington side is probably my favorite Washington player in general. And then Carson Wentz. And then as we go on down the line, you've got the run game. Like I said, this could be a real grinded out game. We could see a lot of Brian Robinson, a lot of David Montgomery. I believe Vegas has Robinson getting like 12 plus carries, which is good. I mean, that's where the money's going on Robinson getting around 12 carries or so. That could be enough to get in the end zone as well if he gets a red zone carry. And I think Washington should be able to move the ball fairly well here. I know Chicago's at home, and Chicago is getting a defensive player back to make the defense a little bit better, but man, they've just lacked in creating pressure. Wentz is should have a good bit of time back there, and the offensive line also should be able to create some holes for the run game as well for Brian Robinson. So it's one of those games that, as I've done my research throughout today, the lineup matchup is really what stuck out to me, because it really is favoring Washington here. So we'll see what happens, but Chicago being at home should be able to make some plays happen. But I think Fields and Montgomery are the core for Chicago. Obviously, I need to talk about Darnell Mooney because Darnell Mooney runs the most routes out of anybody on the Chicago team. Cole Kmet, I didn't mention. I needed to mention Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet at 5'2" is second highest when it comes to routes run in Chicago, and it's all about opportunity. The more routes they're running, the more opportunity they have to get the ball passed to them, obviously, and for them to be a solid play. So I could see Justin Fields utilizing Cole Kmet on short routes. Like I said, he'll most likely be pressured, and the wind's going to be heavy, so he probably won't have the time to really drop back and sit there and really go down the field. I'm thinking little dump off plays for Justin Fields and him running the ball a good bit in this one. So Cole Kmet's going to benefit from that. David Montgomery's going to benefit from that. And so yeah, that's about it, man. Outside of that, I mean, pretty much covered the way that I'm looking at this game. Like I said, both defenses can be used. I probably side with Washington's defense. I think they can generate more of a sack rate, obviously, in this matchup. Like I said, when it comes to that offensive, the lineup matchups, Washington should be able to create some more pressure that could create Justin Fields into some turnovers, even though they are on the road. But both defenses fine, sure. But I hate playing defenses. So, I mean, like I said, if I had to choose one, probably Commanders. I think they can create that pressure. Outside of that, I really don't want much. I don't want kicker. I don't like playing defense. I pray every time these games come on that it's a good game. We'll see what happens. A lot of times when you don't think it's going to be a good game, it ends up actually being back and forth battle and a solid game. And the games that you think are going to be awesome, amazing games end up being weak. So we'll see what happens. But um, I think you can't go wrong with this core that we have in here. And then that value of Sims with I'm blanking on his name now, but with him out, with Dotson out, Sims ran 25 passing routes, so that's a solid spot as well. Um, Interesting tidbits. McKissick ran 22 routes. That's solid. Bates and Turner, both the tight ends who are going to be running routes for Washington, they both ran 21 each. So, but the number one guy was McLaurin. But because McLaurin's more expensive than Samuel, I prefer Samuel, and Samuel gets utilized in more ways. So I do prefer Samuel, but McLaurin is a solid option. He's going to run the most routes out of Washington. He's the main receiving guy, obviously, for Washington. But Samuel's the guy that I'm going to side with the discount and the way they use him in multiple ways. And Cam Sims as the value. It's pretty much how I like this slate, man. Good luck, y'all. GreenlightDFS.com. Join the squad. Let's get it for tonight. And I am out. Peace.